To understand the difference between classes and structs, first we need to understand the difference between a value type and a reference type. Once you understand this, you will perfectly understand the difference between structs and classes. So let's start with this super simple setup here. Okay, I have a example class with a number and a number here. An int is a value type, a class is a reference type. So we'll print both of them here. Let's see what we get. Okay, the initial number starts with 0, even though we didn't assign anything to it. And the initial class, we get a null because we didn't add anything to it. So this is the first difference. An example class is a reference to what? There is nothing here, so you get a null. So to get something different, we'll need to add a new example class. Now, the example class is no longer null. Now there's something in it. And you might ask, okay, so do we need to do that with a number too? Well, obviously, not really, because there's no point into having a null int. Okay, there are edge cases, but if you want, you can do this. It's pointless, but you can. Okay, so it's no longer null. Now there is a class into it, a instance of example class. Okay, now let's add something to this. Okay, I added 2 new methods here. One will get our int, and it will increase the value, ++, and the other will get our class and increase the number inside that. Okay, so I also changed the print here from just the example class to example class.number, so we will get the 0 that is in there. Okay, now we will increase the 0 to 1 and then print them. But how is this actually going to work? We can see here the initial values are 0, the modified number stays 0, but the modified class changed to 1. Okay, why did this happen? Okay, so when it's a value type, this value here is not the same as number. Now, this value here is the same as example class because they are the same reference. They're different variables pointing to the same reference because they are reference types. While the values, this is a variable, this is a different variable pointing to a different memory address. So even if we increase the value here, it will not modify the number. And since the example class is a reference pointing to the value is the exactly same memory address as example class, when we change that value here, we change it in the example class as well. Let's try another example. Okay, so now we have this. I commented the other part there. Okay, so we are making a different class. Now we are even naming the class with a different name, but we are passing the reference into it. And then we are increasing the number. And then we are making a new variable, a new int variable, and we are passing the number value into it. And we increase the other. Okay. I messed up that a little bit. Okay, and then we print it. So what do you think we are going to get here? Again, the same thing as the example with the methods. The other class and the example class hold a reference to the same memory address, so they're exactly the same thing with a different name, while the number and the other number are different memory addresses because there are value types and they contain values and not references to addresses. So when you change the number here, the other number, you do not change the number. So when we print the number, it is going to stay 0. When we print example class number, it's going to print 1 because it was increased here. If we change the example class to other class, it will be 1 as well. They're exactly the same thing. Okay, so you clicked here to understand struct versus classes, and we are talking about ints. But here's the thing. A struct looks like a class, and you write it pretty much like a class, but it's a value type. So once you understood this example about ints, it is super easy to understand structs. Let's add some code here. Okay, now I added some code here. I added the example struct here at the top. It is a value type. It looks exactly the same as the example class. And the example here is pretty much the same as this other one above, but instead of an integer is a struct. Okay, so now that you understand what happened to the integer, what do you think will happen to the struct? Will it be a 0 or a 1? If you guessed that the class would be 1 and the struct would be 0, then you guessed correctly, because it is a value type, and other struct is not the same as example struct. It merely, when you said equal example struct, you merely copied the value to the other struct. You didn't pass the reference, which is what happens here with the class. So I hope you finally managed to understand the difference between structs and classes. Even though they look extremely similar, they work in a very different way, and that might really mess your code if you think they are interchangeable. If I helped you understand this, don't forget to like and subscribe. That's it for today. Thanks for watching. See you next time.